Welcome to the Floor Academy podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hedin, former licensed contractor and boutique store owner in Arizona. Now bringing you weekly advice to help you grow your business so that instead of owning a job and being stuck in a rut, you can own a business that will give you freedom financially with your time to do what you would like. And really, we all get into it because we absolutely love it. And then we start this business and it drives us nuts and we lose passion. And I want people to be able to find what they're passionate about and absolutely love going to work every day. And we do that through interviews with other successful people throughout the flooring industry. This week, we have Paul Wilke of Masterpiece Floors in Corona, California. And he has told me as we were doing the mastermind thing together, he's a 40-year startup, and it took Paul many, many years to realize what it takes to have an actual business instead of owning a job. And yet within that time, he's been an owner operator. He has had employees. He's subcontracted out tons of work. He's had his ups and downs, and it wasn't until he got serious about his business that he realized all of the pieces and components he was missing in it. And so we are going to talk about what made that change, what he started to implement, and where he is trying to get to. Every week we are having these interviews so that you can grow your business. I would appreciate it if you would click on the like and subscribe button. That way you can help grow the audience and make the community larger, and then you get more people to interact with so that there's more people hanging out in the group, asking business questions, exchanging advice. You can find the Floor Academy group on Facebook. If you'd like to support the show, you can do so at patreon.com/Floor Academy. Even $5 a month goes a long way in helping to continue the content being created. Before we have Paul introduce himself, I've got a quick word from Cronus Software. If your flooring business is giving you headaches, Cronus is the remedy you need. Cronus Flooring Business Manager is an easy-to-use and affordable solution that simplifies and streamlines your business operations, managing everything from leads and inventory to scheduling installations all in one user-friendly platform. What sets Cronus apart is its comprehensive suite of features, ease of navigation, and full integration with QuickBooks. Don't let your business be a headache. Choose Cronus for a smoother, headache-free business management experience. Visit cronusoft.com/academy today to schedule a demo. That's KRONUSOFT.com/academy. Cronus, fast relief for your flooring business headaches. Paul, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me. Who are you? What do you do? And why do you do it?
Well, first, thanks for having me join your show. I'm Paul Wilke, owner, president of Masterpiece Floors. We're a flooring company here in Southern California. I started in the business right out of high school, June 15th, 1984. So I'm like coming right up quick on the 40-year. So we're a flooring store. We sell hardwood is our specialty, but we sell all flooring. I've installed hardwood forever. That's what I got started in the business with, and that's what I enjoy doing is the hardwood itself. Let's see. So I've had many employees over the years, and we'll get into that. As many as 30 at one time with a partner. And you as myself and a helper. We don't use helpers now. We have apprentices because flooring is a great career, which is never promoted anywhere. Schools, nothing of that nature promotes that flooring is even an opportunity for a career. They used to have auto shop and different things like that, but anymore, they really don't, which is sad that they've been taken out of the school system. So that's a little bit about me. Did that cover enough?
That's good. We're going to dig into this, right? So you've got a grand plan for Masterpiece Floors of where you want to be in the next 10 years and what you're doing. But all of that's pretty new. Like you said, you at one point with a partner, you were running 30 employees, and you've scaled way back, and it's you now, and it's not just you, right? There's I want to say 5. You, a salesman, and like four people on the crew. It's something right around there, right?
Yeah, it depends on the day, but yeah, we're right around hovering in that range right at this time.
Okay. And so that's a huge difference. And so let's even look at what, well, and I know you've looked into a lot of coaching and different, you've invested in yourself in a lot of different ways as well. And so what even made the difference? Like, where were you at when you were with a partner having 30 employees versus how you got to where you're at today saying that was a complete mess and it has to be done differently?
Okay. Yeah. So, early 2000s, I partnered with a guy and we got up to about 30 guys working with us. And we were doing new home design center work, very little customer direct work. It was a labor shop. Mm-hmm. We were jobs and we were just putting guys out on the jobs. And majority of the guys were all 1099. And all that meant was they knew how to do the job. So we set them jobs that didn't pay their taxes. We left it up to themselves to figure it out. That's where this industry is screwed up. You basically learn to do a skill, right? Install a floor. Mm-hmm. And then after 4 years of learning to do a skill, unless you know someone to write you a letter for the contractors board, you go get your contractor's license. Now you're self-employed. Well, when you're self-employed, all you did was went and bought yourself a job. That's all you did. No one gave you any directions of what it meant to be self-employed. No one told you about the insurances you need to have. You just had a license. You're good to go, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And then you're a god because you're setting your own pay. You're not setting your own pay because the guy you're working for, that you were his helper up to the point you got that license. Now he gave you a square footage price just a little above what it was costing him to have you as a helper. But you're not paying the taxes, so you feel you're making more money. You're not paying the workers' comp. You're not paying all those things that the employer was paying. Now they quit paying and just left it up to yourself to figure out. No one told you needed to get those things, so you're not paying the taxes properly. You're not paying workers' comp if you have a helper again. Payroll taxes, none of that. It's all just scooted under the table. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
it is an ugly truth, that is for sure.
Yeah, and then you get those guys that are working for dirt cheap still because they're just they don't know how to market. They don't know how to go find work. So they're doing jobs as cheap as possible because the only thing they sell on is price and price alone. Well, shoot, if Kyle's doing it for $2, I'm going to have to do it for $1.50 to get that job because I have to work tomorrow. So they go and do it super cheap. But they're unlicensed. Well, they're licensed. They're uninsured properly. They're or underinsured. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They don't have any protection for their employees or their helpers, and it's just a mess. So when the economy took a turn in the mid 2000s, 08, let's say.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, builders quit building houses. We were structured to only do new home construction. That work all went away. And it came down to my partner and myself. We let all the employees go slowly as it was slowing down. So all of them went and got their contractor's license or started their own thing, went direct for the design centers we were working for. Now our employees became our competition. Mm-hmm. And it ended up, my partner and myself had to strap knee pads on again and start installing because there was nobody to oversee. There was not enough jobs for us to employ anybody to install. Right? So through that, it came to a crossroads. We either dissolved the partnership and started our own things or just went our own way. So at that time, we just dissolved the partnership and each went our own way.
Okay. So it all came crashing down with the economy, which Not a big surprise. 2008, 2009, 10 wasn't good to a lot of people. It was a very tough time.
It was.
And so it's not surprising that, a business ended during that time, especially one based on new builds, because they pretty much came to almost a complete stop. But here you are, you start back up and you're trying to grow something, but even then it's what you started wasn't where you're at today and what you're trying to do. So even you starting again was kind of still going off of this old school mindset of like, well, if I know how to do it, I'll just go sell it.
Yeah. So what happened was I packed up the truck and I moved out to Arizona. I went over to Bullhead. I was just going to start different, find a new job, completely change everything in Bullhead. Well, one of the gentlemen that I was working with went to work for a company that was flipping houses. They were flipping 300 houses a year. Called me up one day and goes, "You can refinish floors, can't you?" You know what? I sure can. So I started working with them, refinishing every house they bought in Southern California had hardwood. So we're refinishing all these old homes in San Fernando Valley and all over. And at that point, I was like, all right, I got to do something different than what I've done repeatedly over and over, because I would grow a company to where I have a bunch of employees doing great. There's a change in the market or something, and then it drops down. It's a roller coaster up and down.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I got to find something different. And that's when I connected with a guy that was a business coach. So I'm like, okay, I'll check this out. So I worked with him for a while, probably a couple of years, and got some good knowledge, learned some things that I never even knew about. There's a buying cycle, a selling cycle. Wow, I didn't even know. You need to have prospects. What the heck is a prospect? Right? Mm-hmm. Suspects, prospects, those were all foreign terms to me. I didn't know what he was talking about. But in that, I finally started to learn to sell directly to clients, opposed to just going to the next store, the next carpet store, the next hardwood store or design center, and having them just feed me work. Okay. Because that's easy. You one sale, they give you a bunch of work, you can employ a bunch of people until that relationship is gone. Now it's out every single job. You need to go find that next customer, right? And in the process of that, I found out, wait, I need to have proper workers' comp. I need to have proper general liability insurance, proper, there was a while I didn't even have car insurance, proper car insurance, all those things. And it's like, well, now this is expensive. I can't do the job at the price I was doing before, because that doesn't even cover the expense of the insurances and stuff. Mm-hmm. So then I had to adjust pricing accordingly.
So was the coach helping you with all of this, or was this something that you were learning on your own as you were going in combination with the coaching?
It was a combination of both.
Okay.
Yeah. The coach was definitely helping some, but they were more like the business side of things than the structure you need to have, meaning the insurances and the requirements, right? Mm-hmm. They just pretty much took off that you already had all those things met, all the requirements. So that I had to just kind of figure out on my own, which is great. But yeah, when you miss something and all of a sudden tax man's knocking on your door saying, hey, you didn't pay these taxes, right? Mm-hmm. It was a big setback.
Well, and the scary thing is, and I've talked about on the show before, it's not that hard, folks. I know everyone gets scared by the books, but as a lot of us are installers in the audience, you can do really complicated math. You're out there doing 3, 4, 5 triangles and squaring up walls, and you're figuring out square footage. It's the same math that does your books. It's just addition and subtraction, right? You had money come in, you had money go out. What's left? And if there's not enough money left to cover the expenses, so you need to know all your expenses, then you need to charge more. And if you need help with that, go to flooracademypod.com/files, and download the business budget calculator. We'll plug the spreadsheet. Lots of people have had great success with it on calculating their day rate, but I think that's what Paul's talking about right now is he actually went and spent the time to look at the math and found out it was ugly. You can't just be stuck on the floor 12 hours a day and think everything's going to be okay because that's where you're making money. You may not be, and that's the scary truth.
Yeah, for sure. And then one of the things the business coach never went over was a margin. Well, I only thought a margin 4 or 5 years ago. So I shifted from one business coach to a business consultant that was actually working directly with Masterpiece Floors, right? Every day on site in the office. And, well, shoot, you need to be putting a 30% markup on this. Okay. Because until then, I would sell material at or near cost just to get the labor. Right?
Yep.
So that consultant was, no, you need to put a markup on it. So I put a 30% markup on it. I'm all proud, going, hell yeah, I'm making some extra money now. And then it was just recently, it was like, no, there's a difference between a markup and a margin. So I started looking at margins and went, I've left millions and millions of dollars on the table. One, by giving material away. And I probably left millions more by not putting on a proper margin on a markup. To be completely honest with you, I know the difference from a margin and a markup. How it works and why it works, I don't know, but it works and it sells. And that's what we work on.
Well, business is the language of margin is the business of language, or the language of business. And it's because you're talking percentage of profit that you want. And that's what matters at the end of the day is how if you're running a business, you're doing it to make money. Even stop calling them nonprofits. They're not nonprofits. They're a not-for-profit. It's still a business and it has to make money. And here's how I know that. Because if it doesn't, it can't accomplish its mission and pay its employees or do anything. So they just can't keep money at the end of the year and stockpile it. It's like my HOA. We're only allowed to stockpile money if we can prove we're actually saving money for a big expense. You, on the other hand, are not running a not-for-profit, right? You're running some kind of LLC, more than likely, and you can save all the money you want. And you should make money because you're taking a risk. So learn how to talk in percentage of profit and make some, and we'll be all good. That's what everyone needs to do is stop. When you're told that 30% is the norm in this industry for construction, everyone automatically multiplies by 1.3 because that's all you understand is markup. Stop doing that and go and divide the number by 0.7 and you'll put a 30% margin on it. And you'll find a huge difference. You start getting into, $5,000 of materials, and the difference in the number is very, very large. So figure out how much profit you want to make instead of how much you want to add onto the price. They are not the same. But it's great, right? You've realized it's scary what happens when you look at it and you're like, you're probably right. Over 40 years, there's probably millions of dollars left on the table. And what could that have done to help the prior business make it through the recession?
Oh, definitely. If we were running profitably with a margin, we wouldn't have had any problem through the recession. We would have just rode the wave right through. But we weren't prepared. We were just basically working hand to mouth. And we were doing $1 million. Maybe more. Before the recession, we went down to nothing. Unemployment. Which, hey, I was self-employed, so when I went down to the unemployment office and applied for unemployment, they said, "Great, you've never paid into it, therefore you're not eligible for unemployment." Well, what kind of help can I get? Well, you've never had a job, so no, you can't get any help. You're completely on your own. Figure it out.
Another reason why you guys need to be paying yourself a little bit on payroll every year. Stop just cutting yourself checks here and there and pulling money out of the bank account and actually put yourself on payroll. Makes a difference.
Yeah, and well, I was a sole prop for so many years before the
Hmm.
partnership, and well, I just put everything through the business. We'd go on a vacation. I look at a job well there, so therefore the business was a write-off. And the goal was really to show no profit at the end of the year, so I didn't have to pay taxes.
Yep.
How stupid is that? I look back now and go, "Wow, that was just really, really stupid."
I feel yeah. I mean, I was looking at, okay, I want to save as much money on taxes, right? What expenses can I do? How can I make it look like I have no income? And then I was like, wait, I got to buy a house at some point. Like, I want to be able to get a house. I may have to take a loan. If I go to the bank and I show them documentation that I make no money, but the business does this, they're going to say, you're an idiot. Why'd you do that? You have to make some money. And or like if you well, okay, you don't have to. If you want to play the credit game, you probably need to show that you make some kind of an income. If you want to live a cash lifestyle, then you can do it. Except people generally wonder where you got $500,000 cash to buy a house and start asking questions, and you probably don't want them digging into your taxes at that point. Just
No,
throw that out there.
absolutely, and that's exactly what happens. And then they're all of a sudden like, "Oh, well, here's this tax bill for this money that you have that you didn't pay your taxes on properly," and that's a huge setback. Where
Yep.
now I'm about building a company that when I'm gone is going to continue on. I want to build a legacy for my employees at this point to be
Mm-hmm.
able to take and continue on the mission.
No, I think
Because
that's such a different way of looking at it. As instead of it being all about you, it's about the company being able to continue on and leaving a legacy and having a mission and a vision and being able to continue without the original founder there, and people can pick that up and run with it.
yeah, so my son, this all kind of started, well, not all, but a lot of it started when my son hit 21, and he's like, "So what do I do, Dad?" I'm like, "Don't do what I did. You know, these are things you don't want to do." He's like, "Well, I want to do this work." So I'm like, "All right, let me figure out what I have to do so you can do this work and be successful." And that was a big catalyst to get me to where I'm at now. Right? I want to be employee owned before I finally kick the bucket, so that the guys can just take over and have a great life for their families and be able to support them in a great way. Um, so we get them paid vacations and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of structure that we're still working on building that isn't done yet. But now my eyes are open to the things I want to do for the employees to be a true company, not just some guy that is installing flooring.
Well, so start breaking down some of these differences for me, right? Because there is a huge difference in a guy that can provide someone with a job to do some flooring alongside of him, and a guy that's looking at building a company that's going to continue on after he decides he's done, wants to make it employee owned so that the employees can buy him out, all own a percentage and have an investment in it. There's a huge difference, right? And so where do we even begin on this journey?
So I was trained to do a floor by one guy and his buddy, how they wanted to have a floor done, right? And that was the way to do it. Well, over the years, found out that's a way to do it, not the way to do it, right? So a difference we do is we have NWFA training for all of our employees. There's sales training for the sales team. There's installation training. There, part of our culture is personal growth. So everybody needs to work on personal growth on a regular basis. We let them take 15 minutes to do an NWFA training segment before they take their lunch hour. So they get a 45-minute downtime, 15 minutes of that is training, and then they get their rest break. That makes a big difference because now the guys are coming up with questions. Hey, why is NWFA saying this and this? Mm-hmm. So now I have to go and check on what they're saying and what they're questioning, so they're learning to do things properly, right? And then we do sales training where, hell, when I started, I didn't realize I had to be a salesman. I just went out to a carpet store and sold one carpet store to work with me. And that was work for a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
No. Go out and you need to sell 10 people a day at least to know who you are, to be interested in working with you, so that when 7 out of those 10 decide to go with somebody else, you've got 3 jobs in the pipeline that you can build for your team to install. So that's a huge difference.
There's definitely a huge difference between you with a guy and his buddy and having to keep a couple of mouths busy, right? I don't know that everyone realizes it when they go and make that first hire. I think if it doesn't hit you, I think there's something emotionally wrong with you. Like going to hire somebody and promising them a wage and that you'll be able to take care of them, and I'm going to, provide you a paycheck every week, and it's going to be on time and no questions asked, right? Like it's a huge responsibility. And then on top of it, learning the sales game of I'm no longer running into, a shop and saying, how much do you pay? You're out looking for clients and telling them exactly what to expect, how to expect it, when to expect it. And then you're responsible for delivering the entire package start to finish. And there's even before we even get into more expansive business models and being fancy and having company culture and all of that, there's a huge difference in the business model of subcontracting to selling your own work. And so that was a huge change for you that probably required, years of learning and research to get right.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, it was so easy to go in a store and get a store to give you work. You do a couple good jobs, they're going to give you repeated work. You're done selling. Now you just have to focus on installing. Now you have to go and find the client, a prospect. You need to talk to that prospect and explain to them what needs to happen on the floor, right? And then you need to sell the value of working with someone who has employees that are professionally trained, that do have payroll, because that costs a heck of a lot more than the contractor with the helper that's paid daily under the table.
Mm-hmm.
And you go sell that to a person every single day. The difference between, well, Bob over there's half your price, right? Well, he's licensed, he's got workers' comp. And it's just frustrating because a lot of guys have that workers' comp policy, but they don't have their people on payroll. They don't have their people paid properly. They're just cashed at the end of the day. They're 1099. You don't worry about the taxes. So as you mentioned earlier, it screws the guy because he can't ever go buy a house because he's 1099 and he's not paying taxes properly. The guy who's selling the job cheap is just killing our industry because he's driving prices down. He may be doing great quality work, but he's just not accounting for everything that's included in running a true business.
Mm-hmm.
He's a contractor.
Well, so when you were having to go and sell to Mrs. Jones and get her to buy value, what are some of the first things you learned to even be able to present it and differentiate yourself?
That's a great question. That was tough. First thing we did, we came up with a triple ironclad guarantee, lifetime installation warranty, professionally trained installers, and 30 days if you don't love the material, we replace material for free. And then you get people saying you're crazy. I'm like, well, I want to make sure you're happy, right? You're going to replace our material for free? Absolutely. That's kind of a mixed bag when you present that to some people. Some guys are like, you don't know my wife. She can never make up her mind. He looks at her and goes, you're not talking to another flooring person. This is who we're going with. And then you get the other person that's like, well, we're going to make sure we know what we want, so lower our price because we're not going to ask you to change your floor. So it's kind of a mixed bag. And that sales process is a long process to learn how to sell it. I mean, it really comes down to, before I go to a client's house, I'll just put my phone on record and record myself talking to them and practice before I get there, right? I get done with an estimate. I grab a pen and paper when I'm done and I write down notes. because there's triggers. You'll hear when you're talking to a client, everything's going great, and all of a sudden they go, all right, thank you, we'll get in touch with you. I'm like, wait a minute, I thought things were going great. There was that one key thing you said that turned them off instantly, and they were done talking to us.
Mm-hmm.
And those are things you need to document and note, to know, don't repeat that. Or certain things you say where the client's like, when can you start? Wait, what did I say? Write that down. And you have to really study yourself to be able to sell people at a higher value.
I don't disagree. I want to dig more into it because I think this is a huge difference in why, again, you're self-proclaimed 40-year startup, and there's a huge difference in you going and studying sales skills, which a lot of us don't, right? Oh, I know how to do it. All I got to do is go get her to agree to let me sand the floor, put in the carpet, put down the LVP, whatever it is, right? Oh, that's easy. I got to get one to say yes. But you're not looking for one anymore. You're looking for, you need a couple a week, and it's only you continue to grow, it's going to become more and more. And so you mentioned sales cycle earlier, but I want to dig a little bit more into this. But first, we got a quick word from Johns Manville. The rumors are true. GoBoard Pro is available and approved for steam showers. GoBoard Pro was developed with the pro contractor's ease of project workflow in mind. Panels sized at 48 by 64 inches will limit waste on your project. They'll require less seams, meaning less sealant is needed. And best of all, you can space those beautiful blue GoBoard spacers. Oh, fasteners, not spacers. Fasteners out to 12 inches without requiring washers. That's the key, though. You don't have to put washers on them anymore with GoBoard Pro. Visit www.jm.com/GoBoard for more information and to learn about their other products. Okay, Paul, we've got these sales skills. I think this is a huge thing that's lacking in most small businesses, is that many of us come from especially on the installation side, right? We're very, very technical. I know how to do it. So all I got to do is go find somebody that says, I need this done, and then I can do it. Those are easy, low-hanging fruit, someone that's ready to go, and is probably going to give you a yes or no answer within 2 weeks. And how many of those can I find? And even my business was built a lot on that, of finding people that were ready to go, not nurturing a sale for 6 or 9 months and really staying in touch and following up with somebody. I think, you're talking about sales skills of being in the house, but really where your business model is shifting to is that you're having to find these leads and nurture them for a very long time. So how has that transition kind of happen, right? Like, where did the idea to even start researching what you're saying in the house and writing it down and taking notes, like, where did any of that come from? Because who does that, right? I just have to install a floor. That's what us contractors do.
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the business consultant coaches that I follow, I've read all his books, I'm part of his online training and stuff. He goes, write down, take notes. You're not going to know what you did right or wrong unless you take notes. Take notes of what you do. Video, role play, practice. Because there's no actor up on any stage anywhere that hasn't practiced that role before they got there, mm-hmm. right? You don't think the President of the United States walks out on stage and just reads that teleprompter for the very first time, do you? He's read that. He's studied it. He's pounded in his head, and he still makes mistakes, right? It's all about practicing and knowing your material, mm-hmm. not to deceive people, but it helps you be more confident in what you're saying. Because some of the stuff we're saying, some of the stuff we're presenting, they're not products that we either install every day, because I'm a wood installer, mm-hmm. but I'm selling carpet. I don't love vinyl. I'm selling vinyl. I install it, but I just don't love it. Tile, I'm neutral on tile, but I don't know a lot about it. But by practicing and talking to people and installers, and you get yourself more comfortable, right? It's just mm-hmm. then it becomes natural conversation.
You know what? That's a great point of, like, practice makes perfect is kind of what you're talking about. And I don't know that a lot of us consider what we do everyday practice, right? Like I was hired to go install. I'm just installing now. And I've had this conversation with my son, right? Like he thinks he's doing competitive swim. And so when he goes and he does a meet, he's like, I'm here to compete. I'm like, you're here to practice. That's all you ever do, right? Practice is going to get you to where you need to be. Yes, you're going to go harder than you usually do in practice. You're going to apply everything in this one moment for this contest. But if you screw something up, it's just more practice. And so when we're out installing, that's what we're doing. We're just practicing our craft again, over and over every day. And to apply that to the sales, I think is absolutely brilliant, right? Now you're becoming more well-rounded. You're not so technical. You have this other skill set. You're learning how to talk to people. You're learning how to key in on what they're telling you about what problem they're experiencing in their home, how they want it solved. You're learning how to communicate and use, if you're smart, you're looking for ends of, you're not manipulating, right? But you're finding the psychology behind what they're telling you and then applying it so that they agree with themselves, right? You're providing them the answer that makes them happy, and because you can truly solve the problem. But generally there's a couple ways to say something, and it can have a positive or negative effect depending on how you say it, and you're just giving it to them in the way that's going to be most positive for them. You're not manipulating, you're just providing the info.
You just hit on it. You need to find their hot topic. What is making them choose to do a flooring today? Because you're not just competing against other flooring companies, you're competing against a vacation, a new car, maintenance on the car, all kinds of stuff, refrigerator. So what's making them decide today that they want to buy a new floor? And that's where I find practice comes in the best, when I take my notes. The good and bad almost always comes from how I reacted or responded to their hot topic. Why am I there today to look at this floor? Did they just buy the house? Do they want a different color? Is the husband getting a new floor because, he'd make his wife happy because she hasn't been happy? And that's sometimes the situation. But you find out what is the trigger to make them want to do that flooring right now. And when you can find the trigger of why they want to change flooring, because it's what do they say, third largest purchase people make in their lifetime, their home, their car, and then their floors, right? That's a big deal. Mm-hmm. And if you find out and really focus on what their needs are, not all the technical BS that we know and we're just dumping on the people, and that's when I lose a lot of people, is when I go into, well, Masterpiece Floors does this and this, spend too much time on our warranties and what we're about, spend too much time on the floor and what the floor's about. That's when I tend to lose people. Yeah. It's when I'm really focused on their needs and what they want and how they live in their floor. Do you have dogs? How many dogs do you have? Do you have kids? How do you live in your house? You got a pool. Is a floor inside your pool concerning you? Some people are like, no, I want something soft. I want carpet. Great. And instead of trying to sell them a waterproof floor, they want carpet. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure you're on the right product.
I agree. I want to go back to your warranty for a minute, right? Because you said I'm gonna give you a 30-day 30-day satisfaction guaranteed. If you don't like the material, we're gonna switch it out. Now, to be clear, I know this, but it doesn't always come across in that it's apparent, is that you're willing to replace the material, but you're not paying for labor. They have to pay the labor on that.
100% correct. We will purchase and replace the flooring material, the hard good surface, not the adhesive and all the other stuff that goes into it. We will replace the flooring material at no charge within the first 30 days if you don't love it.
And this is why we need to know our margins, folks, because I guarantee you Paul is not selling at a 30% markup anymore, because anyone that took him up on this deal would have him going broke. And so I know that somebody's taking him up on it. And how much do you actually lose if someone takes you up on it?
By the time you, because labor has a margin on it.
Yeah.
Adhesive has a margin on it. Sundries have a margin on it. Everything has a margin on it. If you replace a floor because they don't love it, you're going to make a small profit. Even if you replace material, you're still going to make a small profit. You're not going to be the 40, 50% margin that we want to be at, but there's a margin on everything else that you will still be profitable at the end of the job. You're not losing money.
Well,
and what you did, you just built a customer for life that's absolutely mind blown that you've just replaced their floor, no questions asked. Let's get after it. Let's do it. And the dude's head has just exploded. He's telling everybody he knows, these guys are freaking crazy. They replaced my floor, no problem. They just went and did it very quickly. And now that's a whole new harvest you just planted of other people that he's telling about that are future customers.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's a great market. It's not even a gimmick, right? It's a great marketing tool of, hey, I can come in and do this. So even if you were selling at a 40% margin, you'd be down 10% on the cost of the flooring. But if you can't make that 10% up and all the labor to remove it, replace it, buying sundries again, you've got a problem with your business model. So I agree. You should be ending up in the black on it and ahead, and you're not where you necessarily want to be, but should still be a good project. And of course, at the end of it, the ability to have that client that is a raving fanatic about you is going to go so much further than anything else you could have done.
In the long haul, that's probably going to end up being your most profitable job out of all. By the time you figure in the new clients that they're going to bring in, friends, family, coworkers, right? They're going to be a return client forever. Their kids are going to buy from you forever. Marketing is expensive. You just marketed to this client by replacing their floor and made them extremely happy.
Definitely. I want to dig into a little bit of the difference. You'd mentioned earlier that the Masterpiece Floors has a culture. And so let's go back. Let's look at this partnership that you had and dissolved, but had 30 employees. What was that business model based on? What was that business about? What was its purpose? And why does Masterpiece Floors now have a culture and values and mission and vision?
Okay, that business was strictly based on blowing jobs out as quickly as we can, paying the guys piecework, and making some cash. That was it. There was sure. As long as there was money to fund the race car, we were doing good. That was the culture of the business, going racing. So it was all over the place. Now our culture is written down. All our guys know our culture. We go over our culture weekly in our staff meetings: personal growth, attention to detail, urgency, integrity. And there's one more I'm drawing a blank on at the second. You would think after doing this every week, I would have it down cold, but there's always one that slips my mind. I'll come back to it because it pops right back in, right? Urgency. If there's ever a problem on our job, this is urgency and attention to detail come together, right? And integrity. If there's ever a problem on our job, our team reaches out. We take care of it. We take care of it quickly. A lot of the times, the client doesn't even know there was a problem on the job during the installation, right? If with a lifetime warranty, if there's ever a problem after we're done with the job, someone is at their home within 24 hours of their first initial phone call in with the problem, and we get it taken care of within 7 days, as long as material's available. We make an effort, right? Attention to detail. My guys pick each other apart because they're always trying to lift each other up to be better. So it works great. And they all know that they're only picking each other apart that the whole team gets better, right? Because we do monthly team outings, go to Top Golf or somewhere, spend some time together. Integrity is just always doing the right thing, no matter what. It's not about the cost. It's not about anything. It's got to be done right.
Yeah.
So we fix it.
Well, I like that, you admitted that there was nothing previously, right? The business was there to make money and fund your fun, and it didn't really matter how you got there. And now there's a purpose behind what you're doing, and there's reasons why we do certain things, and we're held to a standard, and everyone has the same one. It doesn't change from employee to employee. And I think a lot of times in small businesses, we feel that way, right? Bob got away with something, but you came down on George because he did the same thing. Well, yeah, but Bob's my buddy and he's been employed 20 years and, there's no standards. And so I know you have an employee handbook. I know you have the core values written down and that you go over them. Not only do you text them to the employees every day, but you go over them on a weekly basis and review them and talk about them. And how is it different from your subcontracting model to how you see these guys interacting with each other now? Like, what has it done to bolster up the business?
Great question. It's really had the guys take ownership, right? They want to be recognized because they have to be recognized to be able to go on our company outings every month, right? So they're all making sure that they're recognized either by review from a client, a phone call in from a client saying they did a great job. And then, we celebrate that as a big win.
Mm-hmm.
I had an employee that showed up late consistently. And I sat him down, I talked to him, I said, if you show up late again, I'm going to have to let you go. And his response was, but Dad, what do you mean you're going to let me go? I'm like, son, if you're late again, it's going to be your last time you show up. He showed up late, and now he's off working for somebody else. And he just doesn't fit our culture. And that shocked me. They're like, but he's a great employee. He does everything, but he shows up late. How many days are you guys waiting for him to show up so you can head to the job site? So that makes a big difference. And
what did that buy you with the rest of the team, though?
It bought in confidence that I'm going to do what I'm going to tell them I'm going to do, right? That accountability, that they will be held accountable no matter who they are, right? It brought everybody to an equal level playing field. No one's superior above anybody else.
It's a big deal when the boss's son gets fired by the boss, especially by him. And you're the one leading the way, saying these are the standards that we have to hit, right? And then you went and demonstrated to him, like, I'm not joking. This is truly what we have to hit. And I commend you for it. I think it's very impressive that, you did that. And to follow up on that, what is having those, where was I going to go? The standards that are there now, right? They're reviewed, they're talked about, the guys kind of know them and they follow them. But I think oftentimes in businesses, right, we get to the point where it's like, oh my God, they want to hold meetings again. Oh, it's so annoying. And so when you started, was there pushback from the team about having meetings and whatnot? But how long have you been consistent with it? And do they now look forward to it?
So yeah, there was quite a bit of pushback when I started the meetings. They were just kind of like, we can shorten these meetings up. We don't have to go over the culture every single week, blah, 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 blah. So to get rid of the pushback, now everybody has an assignment for the meeting on Monday. We start weeks off with a Monday morning meeting. First thing we do is we go over wins. What did we do great last week? Right? I don't care if it was a terrible week. There was something that went great. And sometimes what went great is how we recovered from a mistake, right? And that needs to be noted because that's how you grow, is learn from what you do wrong. Kind of got off task and lost where I was going. But by having everybody have an assignment for the Monday meeting, now they're engaged, they're anxious, they're kind of feel a little bit uncomfortable because they have to go over their segment, whatever it is, right? Until they do it a few times. Now they start getting excited because, I get to present this, right? I have a guy that's my NWFA guy. And he's like, all right, our jobs this week are this, and this is what we're going to learn about the jobs this week. And then it opens up discussion, not only about just what the NWFA trained in that segment, because it has to pertain to the jobs we're doing. It actually breaks down into, we're completely breaking the job apart by the tasks and everything that goes into that job to make sure it's done properly. And the importance of doing a job properly, right? Because a lot of it, we look at what other contractors or other flooring companies do that are wrong. There's a floor site, right? And they're always showing things that were wrong and how things went wrong and why they went wrong. And we discussed that, why not even Masterpiece Floors jobs went wrong, just random companies' jobs went wrong and why. And in that discussion, we come up with how to prevent that happening on our jobs.
Okay. What was how long until they really got into it? Again, I think a lot of times companies, you come along and you're like, we're going to have meetings, we're going to do this stuff. And all the employees whine and groan, and then they begrudgingly do it. And then, 2 months down the road, the stuff is dropped and everyone's like, oh, thank God it's over. Like, we're just going to go back to the status quo. And then 6 months down the road, the management team comes back and they're like, we're going to do meetings, we're going to implement all this stuff, we're going to become great. How long did it take the consistency to win them on board? And then how hard is it for you to stay consistent at this point?
So it took just as long to get them on board as it took to get rid of the people that weren't a good fit in the culture. Because once you got rid of the guys that weren't a good fit in the culture, the guys that are a good fit, they want that. They want to be held accountable. They want the culture because they're getting recognized for doing things right. Mm-hmm. Okay? And now that they're recognized for doing things right and they're actually adding to the meetings with their segments, whatever segment that may be, they're excited about it and they're all bought in. And they see the future. And we discuss the future. We got a 401k for the guys. How's your 401k going? Well, that's a discussion we have on a regular basis. How's your investments going? How's your future planning going? Mm-hmm. Right? We do probably monthly one-on-one meetings where I sit down with each employee once a month. It's supposed to be weekly, but I'm a little behind. We sit down once a month to go over how are you doing on your personal, professional, and financial goals, right? Mm-hmm. Not even so much how you're doing your job performance. This is where you want to take your life, right? Because we're giving our employees a career option, not just a job. Right? And to get the career option, I need to know what they want to do. I have one guy that never sanded a floor, but he's like, man, I see all these sand jobs going. I want to learn to sand a floor. So we sent him up to NWFA training to learn to sand the floor. We stuck him on sand jobs. 6 months in, he's running his own sand jobs, and he's one of the best sander guys I got. Because he loves the challenge of work and everything else with it. But if we didn't have these one-on-ones, I would have never known that he wanted to learn sanding because he's a good installer. But he's a much better sander than the good installer he used to be. Right? He would have made a decent career just installing. He's going to make a much better career sanding.
Well, and he's still got places to go if he wants to, right? He can decide, I want to become sales. You're going to grow the business. I want to get into the warehouse. I want to do scheduling. There's, I want to open up my own branch. There's tons of ways that it can go, but just the investment of time to put into somebody and say, hey, how's it going? What's going on beyond the 9 to 5? What's happening at home? Where do you want to go in life? And truly caring is such a different approach that a lot of people aren't taking, right? And that for sure wasn't happening when you had 30 guys with the partner. It was, no. Here's your work order, off you go, see you later, come back tomorrow, I'll give you another one.
Right, exactly. And then we had somebody following behind it. In that scenario, doing customer service, so they didn't even have to repair their own messes. Somebody else took care of that. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, the guys have to go repair their own challenges, at least be there with a repair specialist to take care of challenges and find out what they did wrong. But no, really with one-on-ones, one of the guys, I want to get married. I want to go do this and that. Well, extra cash. Well, we offer bonuses for bringing in new clients. You bring in a new client we sell, you're going to get $100. If you come along on the sale, you're going to get a percentage of the job. If you sell the job yourself, you're going to make a commission on that job. Mm-hmm. So that's with the newer guys that I'm getting their mind ready to go, that they need to start selling. 40 years ago, nobody told me that I had to go sell and I had to go find clients. It was just find a store, find someone to sell for me. Mm-hmm. 40 years later, I'm like, oh, crap. I got to go find clients. I've got to go sell them. So we're already teaching these guys 2-3 years into the business that selling is a key component.
Well, I like that you're developing people, right? Mm-hmm. It's not just about, I think a lot of guys and gals within our field are all about, I just need to get you to do this technical thing well. And then we can't even like go enough to let them go and do it on their own, right? We still have to watch over our shoulder. We still need to push them out of the way and take care of the thing. Like we have a hard time letting go and letting other people do it. And you're really looking at, not only can I let you do the technical thing, but I want to give you other skill sets so that you can be successful in other areas of your life, not just while you're here. And that's a whole different ball game of what you're even looking at doing, right? It's trying to find and develop skills. Oh, you're not, you're trying to find the right person to put in the right seat. You're not great at sales. Okay, well, let's move you over to installing. Oh, you're doing really well at installing. You're interested in sand and finishing. Okay, let's have you sand and finish. That's not going well for you. I have an opening in the office, right? Can you do admin work, right? Can you do the books? You're just going to find somewhere to plug them in where they can be successful in your spot. And I think a lot of times a lot of us don't have businesses big enough to do that. Like if you can't do this thing, then you don't work for me and you got to go. And then we go through so many people that it's hard, which brings me to my, this question of, when you were running with 30 guys and subbing it all out, you'd probably take anybody that walked in the door and could take a work order and say they could do it. And then you had somebody behind them that you knew could do it, cleaning up messes. You've tried to hire people recently, but now there's all these standards getting in your way of hiring people. How has that improved your business now that it's harder to hire someone?
Oh, it's improved business greatly, right? Because the guys that would tell you they could just do the job when I had 30 crews and we just hire anybody, now they don't make it through the interview process. And not on my side. They don't make it through the interview process on their side because they're just like, quit taking phone calls, or, yeah, I don't know that I can work here. You guys got too many rules. We're just floor installers. And they choose not to come into the culture. Mm-hmm. And if someone does slip through the cracks and make it through the culture, my other employees are going to drive them out so quickly, their head's going to spin. My employees are like, bro, this is unacceptable here. But it was funny. It was great. It was funny, but it's unacceptable at Masterpiece Floors. I have some thoughts in my mind on a former employee that I just want to stay away from, but yeah, they just won't be a fit, mm-hmm. and they leave pretty much unhappy. And this one former employee reached out to all my guys. How do I get back in, man? I want to come back to work for you guys. And my employees were like, bro, you need to quit contacting us. You're just not a fit to work here. We won't let you come back to work here.
They did the job for you. It's great, right? Like I like what you're saying here, though, is that you have standards that people will weed themselves out. So yes, it's harder to find somebody, but when everybody that we can go and look at when we're in these online communities is saying, I'm having trouble hiring, I can't find anybody good, the chances of Paul finding somebody good are much, much higher, because there's so many standards in place that by the time you actually find someone to make an offer to come on board, they will more than likely stick, as opposed to, I've been through 100 guys, none of them have been any good. Well, what were the standards for hiring? Well, there weren't any. Okay. So I like that, these things have changed over time, and you care more about the business than you do about, it's not that you don't care about the numbers, right? But like, it's more about protecting the name than it is about instantly growing revenue. It's not that you don't want to grow the revenue.
Exactly. I had a guy, man, we had a couple of phone interviews. He was a great fit on paper. Everything sounded great. Had a one-on-one interview at our store scheduled. And 5 minutes before the interview, he calls me up and goes, "Hey, man, I went to the wrong store. I'm going to have to reschedule." I'm like, "Okay, don't worry about it. We're good.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going to work with us." He's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Yeah, well, I'm going to let you go at this point in time rather than coming in and you showing up 5 times late. And I'm going to have the same conversation with you that I had with my son and then terminate you. So I'm just going to let you go now." You terminated your son? I'm like, "Yeah, he showed up late, and you showed up late to an interview, so I put you in the same category of him as a former employee. Have a great day." Right? And so I posted something on Facebook about not firing someone before I hired them, is how I put it. Oh my gosh, so many guys got upset. "You're such a jerk. How do you fire someone if you didn't give them a chance?" And like, I gave him 3 phone interviews. I gave him an opportunity to show up on time. He couldn't get there. He went to the wrong store after he told me he saw me driving by because we're right on the freeway. He knew where our store was. Just not a fit in my culture.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to tolerate it.
I think standards are great. I think more of us need to have them, right? If you don't know what you're looking for, then how do you even hire? Especially if you don't have what's the purpose? What's the vision, right? What's the mission of the company? I don't care if your mission is to provide water wells to, third world countries in Africa that struggle to have clean water. Like, if that's the purpose of you running your business and that's what you want to provide, find people that are on board with that. And you're going to find people that can get excited about that, and you can build a company around it. If your mission is to, I just need to be able to make payroll at the end of the week, you're going to struggle to find people that can get on board with that. I definitely would not want to work at that company. And I think a lot of small businesses, and it's not just in contracting, just small businesses in general, are in that boat. They just have no clue what's going on. And so you have to step back and define what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it. And spending all that time behind the desk really does something. That's why we're here.
Yeah, for sure. But we're in the people business, really.
Mm-hmm.
All about people pleasing. We need to please our clients. We need to make sure they're getting more value than what they paid for. We need to please our employees by making sure that they have an opportunity to grow personally, professionally, right? And we have to please ourselves, really, by providing that great service to everybody else. So it's really just a people business. And if they're the wrong people, they're the wrong people. They're just not a fit.
Yep. And it's even more, the smaller you are, the more important it is to have the right people. If you're running a large company and you got 1,000 employees, you can probably handle some mediocre people within it. The smaller you are, the more important it is to find the right person for the right project so that you can keep going as strongly as possible. I don't have time to be out correcting you. I don't have time to show you how to do it another way. I don't have time to retrain you on the process, or, if I'm hiring you to do something, I need you to go do it. And I need you to do it at a high level without a lot of oversight, because I'm already a chief everything officer by being a small business and trying to expand to my first, second, third, fourth employees. And so if I don't make good hires, then it's going to make the business even more complicated. And that's definitely not what I'm after. So I love hearing about your journey and how you're finding these little things to implement and change the way that you've done business from the past, and able to grow it into something that's more successful, more steady, more dependable, and get repeatable results that are more efficient. So is there anything really quick that we didn't hit on that you think was a big part of this transformation and how you're doing it now?
We pretty much covered everything. It started because my son's asking me questions. I went over that. I'm trying to build a business for my son, and then it ends up he's not even a fit for the culture that I'm building for him to take over. So hopefully he'll come back around and come back. But when he does, if he does, he's going to know that these are the standards that he needs to be held to. Anybody else starting a business, really set your culture and stick to it. Don't let somebody else manage your culture, because if you don't have a culture, someone else is going to set that culture. And it may not be the one you want.
Great advice. Don't let the employee set the culture, especially the one that's cranky in the back complaining about pay. That is not going to be a happy place to end up. All right, folks. Thank you, Paul, for joining us. That's going to do it for us this week on Floor Academy Podcast. Don't forget to check out the website, flooracademypod.com. Lots of fun files over there in the resources section for you to get your hands on and help you manage your business better, whether it's job costing, figuring out your day rate, or even tracking your tools. You can get plugged in with a mastermind group and be held accountable to not only set goals within your business, but actually get them accomplished. You can do that at flooracademypod.com/mastermind. And we've got a quick word from Tice. Stay connected, continuing discovering, learn more, and network. Now available, you will want to access the International Surface Events new resource library. Flip through the digital pages of the Tice resource books to source products, take tailored journeys through the Tice event offerings, or watch, rewind, and share Tice recorded content from the event. Available now at intlsurfaceevent.com, or click on the link in the show notes. You'll even see this podcast featured in the Tice 2024 textbook, offering select recordings from this year's amazing event. Don't forget to check out the dates when you visit the page, block them off in your calendar for next year, and just go buy the tickets and show up. You're like me. I know it. If you don't do it, you're not going. You're going to commit, and then someone's going to offer you a job. You're going to take the job, and then you're going to regret not going because you're going to miss out on all the awesome networking and meeting of people and being able to expand your mind. And if you're worried about the lost revenue, you're worried about the wrong problem. If you're not able to go to these events at Tice or anything else and find a way to change your business when you get back, then you're doing the events wrong. And I'd be happy to talk with you about it if you have questions on, how do I get more out of events? You know what? I bet you even Paul's been to lots of events. He knows what's up. They're not just for showing you technical stuff. They're not just for seeing products. There's a way to do them and get something out of them. Paul, if people want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
You can find me at mphfloors@gmail.com. That's my direct email. Please reach out with any questions, technical, any kind of questions at all. Would love to hear from y'all. You can also find me on Facebook, masterpiecefloors.com, I believe. Masterpiece Floor, I don't even know.
That's so confident. All this stuff about knowing your business, and you flubbed the website.
No, the website is masterpiecefloors.com. I know that. But on the Facebook, I don't know the Facebook handle or whatever they call it.
Okay.
On the social networks so much. I try to post something every day, but that goes on my personal, Paul Wilke.
If you want to see some good content, Paul is putting out good content on Facebook on the daily about things that he's encountering at the job site, educating homeowners and tradespeople at the same time. So go check it out and see how easy it is to make a video and actually get some attention, folks. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it. And everyone, we will catch you next week.
Thanks, Kyle. We'll see you next time.
Sounds good.